The smallest known ship in the universe is known as the Laurenar Needle, also known as the Needle Fighter. It was a tiny, remote-controlled starfighter that was produced by the Laurenar Corporation. It was around 2 to 2.5 meters long, and it was powered by Tsills. Tsills were sentient crystal beings from the planet Namchorios, and they were able to communicate nearly instantaneously. All of these ships were painted matte black so that they would be nearly impossible to target using standard systems and sensors. Since these ships were so small, they only had enough room for a single heavy laser cannon, but these ships didn't rely on too many weapons since they used coordinated swarm intelligence and always deployed in groups of hundreds to thousands of units. Since they were remotely controlled without an organic pilot, more power was diverted to engines and weapons, and most of them were unshielded and extremely fragile. One well-placed shot was more than capable of destroying one of them. Originally, these ships were meant to be sold to Moff Tolgateles in his mission to enslave the sentient crystal beings, but Luke Skywalker managed to communicate with the Tsills and help them rebel against the Imperials. The Kaminoan flight pod was manufactured by the Kaminoans, and it was big enough for one single pilot to carry 2 passengers that would sit behind the pilot. It had 2 rear-engine thrusters that emitted a purple light trail, and it even had hyperdrive capabilities. It was a spherical utility ship that was essentially just used to travel over short ranges on the planet ocean of Kamino, or it could be used as a short-range escape vessel. It had 4 landing legs that fold seamlessly into the hull whenever it takes flight, and it had a hatch on the left side that acts as a boarding ramp. Even though there was a pilot seat, it could still be programmed for autonomous flight if one needed to remotely control it. One of these ships was commandeered by General Grievous during the Battle of Kamino, and he also managed to pick up Asajj Ventress before escaping to Poca City. One of these ships was used by the ARC Trooper 5s and the medical droid Azzy-3 so that they could evade security during the clone inhibitor chip investigation. It was also similar in design to the KEUW-33 Kamino submarine that allowed the Kaminoans to travel underwater on their home planet. Coming in at just over 2 meters in length, the Swarm-class battle droid was a tetrahedral drone starfighter that was used by the SSI Ruvi Imperium. While these ships were extremely small, their power came from the numbers of them used to overwhelm the enemy. Most Separatist ships actually carried over 1,500 units of them. It was able to reach a maximum speed of 1,200 kilometers an hour, and it was equipped with a fusion drive engine. Unlike smaller ships, it was equipped with an energy-absorbing microfilament grid system for a shield that redirected incoming fire. But while the smaller ships had a hyperdrive, these ships didn't. It did have 4 laser cannon turrets that gave it a firing arc of 360 degrees, which meant that it was more than capable of defeating enemies that were pursuing it. Since these were droids, they were powered by entekment, which is a process that drains the life force of sentient beings, and it took 2 life forces to power one ship. One of these beings was used to operate the shields, while the other was used to pilot and operate weapons and sensors. These ships were seen during the invasion of Bakura when the Rebels and Imperials encountered the droids only days after the Battle of Endor. Almost 25 years later, there was a second attempted invasion of Bakura, and the SSI Ruvi Imperium used the droids again, but they had upgraded them with tractor beam projectors. The TIE Raptor was developed by engineers at the shipyards on Dathomir under the control of Warlord Zinj, and they were made to be high maneuverability starfighters that remained compact. It was around 6.8 meters long and could reach maximum atmospheric speeds of 1,050 kilometers an hour. The cockpit was spherical and sat in the center with 4 short fin-like wings that protruded out at right angles. While most of them didn't have hyperdrives equipped, some of them had a Class 1.0 rating installed. Also, most of them were generally made without shields, but some of them used experimental shields as a prototype. This type of TIE was much more durable than the standard TIE fighter as they had reinforced titanium alloy hulls. They could either be piloted by one pilot in the later models, or they were designed to run off of fully automated droid brains in the earlier models. Each of them was equipped with 4 laser cannons and 2 concussion missile launchers. These ships were very effective in dogfights, but the earlier models that were unmanned had to be paired with human-piloted TIE interceptors so that they could make up for the pilot shortages in Zinj's empire. In the end, production ceased following his defeat at Dathomir during the Battle of Salagas. Yoda's Actis-class interceptor was a modified version of the original Jedi starfighter, and it was roughly 5.5 meters long and reached speeds of up to 1,500 kilometers an hour. Yoda's starfighter wasn't equipped with a shield, as he relied on his force-enhanced reflexes to keep him out of immediate danger. His ship was equipped with an advanced long-range array so that he could effectively track dark side disturbances. This ship had 2 laser cannons and 2 secondary ion cannons. Since this ship was made for a Jedi with smaller stature, the hull and cockpit was scaled down to fit him. This made him much harder to target while in the middle of a dogfight. Yoda used this ship during his quest to search for the key to immortality. He followed the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn's spirit, and he went to the Wellspring of Life, which was the birthplace of midichlorians, and he also traveled to the Sith homeworld of Moraband. After that, he continued his quest for spiritual answers as he trained on Dagobah. The Mankvim 814 Light Interceptor was also known as the Techno-Union Starfighter, and it was used by the Confederacy of Independent Systems as a local defense ship. The ship was 10.7 meters long, roughly, and could reach atmospheric speeds of 1,450 kilometers an hour. Once again, this ship also didn't come with a hyperdrive, which restricted it to being a local defense ship used on the system it was based on. It did come with a compact deflector shield generator, and it was able to hold around 2 hours worth of supplies. For weaponry, it only came with 2 rapid-fire laser cannons that were fixed to the front, but it used wing-mounted repulsor lifts, which made it extremely agile and helped in subsonic atmospheric flight. Usually these ships were piloted by only one singular B-1 battle droid, but it could also fit a single living pilot as well. This ship was primarily used during the Clone Wars in the Techno-Union and Confederacy of Independent Systems Air Force, but these were primarily used during the Battle of Utapau, where hundreds of them were held in the Sinkhole City. After the Clone Wars, the Corporate Sector Authority took the remaining stock to use for security reasons, but some of them ended up in the hands of mercenaries and pirates. The TIE Advanced V-1 was a high-performance prototype starfighter that was from the Sinar fleet systems, and it was made to resemble the design of the V-Wing starfighter. This was essentially the precursor model of what would eventually be Darth Vader's TIE Advanced X-1. It was around 6.13 meters in length, and it could reach a maximum speed of 1,200 kilometers an hour. Unlike the smaller ships, this one was equipped with a Class 2.0 hyperdrive, and it was also equipped with deflector shields, which was rarely used in TIE models. Most of these ships didn't come with life support systems, since pilots were made to wear full flight suits, and the hull was made with reinforced alloy with curved, folding solar wings. 2 dual laser cannons were mounted on the chin of the cockpit, but they were also fitted with concussion missiles or S-thread trackers, depending on the mission they were fitted for. These ships were primarily used by the Imperial Inquisitorius and high-ranking Imperial officers, and it was known for its incredible agility and vertical takeoff speed. This ship was the ideal choice for pursuit missions and dogfights. In fact, this ship was used to chase after the Ghost, which was captained by Harrison Dula. The Eta-2 Actis class interceptor was the traditional Jedi starfighter that was used during the final stages of the Clone Wars. It was designed by Quat Systems Engineering, and it was made to work well with the force sensitivity of the pilots who controlled them. It was 7.44 meters long, with a maximum atmospheric speed of 1,500 kilometers an hour. While the ship itself didn't come with a hyperdrive, it did use a hyperdrive docking ring whenever interstellar travel was needed. None of these ships were given a shield, as the pilots would rely on their Jedi reflexes, but they did come with 2 long-barreled low-yield laser cannons along with 2 secondary ion cannons. The ship's long-range sensor array was built right into the wingtips, but it also utilized an astromech droid with a socket on the port wing. Unlike most ships used by the Separatists, Imperials, and Rebels, this ship used a bubble canopy on the cockpit that gave the pilot a 360-degree field of view. It was made to be unstable on purpose, though, so that non-Jedi pilots would not be able to fly it without crashing at high speeds. During the Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker flew a custom yellow interceptor, Obi-Wan Kenobi flew a burgundy interceptor, and Mace Windu flew a purple one. The RZ-1 A-Wing Interceptor was the fastest mass-produced starfighter in the Rebel fleet, and it was made for high-speed dogfights and hit-and-run raids. It measured 6.9 meters in length with a max atmospheric speed of 1,300 kilometers an hour. It did come with a Class 1.0 hyperdrive and a Surplex Z9 deflector shield. For weapons, it came with 2 Borstel RG-9 laser cannons that could elevate or depress 60 degrees in all. It also came with 2 Dimec HM6 concussion missile launchers that usually held 6 missiles for each. Unlike other small ships, the A-Wing came with 2 Noval Dex J-77 Sunlight engines, and a powerful 4X Phantom short-range jammer that could disrupt enemy targeting and communications. The ship was based off the R-22 Spearhead prototype, but this version of the ship was redesigned by General Jan Dodonna and Walex Blissex. It was made as a way to counter the Imperial TIE Interceptor. While A-Wings were used for most of the Galactic Civil War, they were heavily featured during the Battle of Endor, as one piloted by Arvel Kreinard was used as a battering ram against the Executor. After the Civil War, this version was replaced by the RZ-2 A-Wing, which was used by the Resistance. The Vulture-class droid starfighter was commonly known as a Vulture droid, and it was used extensively by the Trade Federation before the Clone Wars, before it was utilized by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. It was around 6.96 meters in length and reached a top atmospheric speed of 1,200 kilometers an hour. They had 2 engine units that were powered by solid fuel concentrate slugs, and they weren't equipped with any sort of deflector shields. Each Vulture droid was fitted with 4 wing-mounted blaster cannons and 2 energy torpedo launchers, and it used an antenna for linking with the central control computer. This was due to the fact that there was no organic pilot, and there wasn't even an option for one to do maintenance of any kind in one. It had an integrated droid brain that connected straight to the Lucrehulk-class ship that served as a droid control ship. These ships were also able to transform into a 4-legged walker that could perform ground patrol and move around the capital ships without the need to fly. These ships were used between 32 BBY and 19 BBY, and the first battle that they were seen deployed for was the invasion of Naboo as they fought against the N-1 starfighters Naboo pilots flew. After the Clone Wars ended, most of these were deactivated, but some of them ended up getting reactivated by scavengers and separatist holdouts and rebel cells like Cham Syndulla's Free Ryloth movement. The tie-in interceptor was developed by Scyk Fleet Systems as a way to counter the faster ships that the Rebel Alliance was producing, and it was much faster than the tie-in fighter. It was 7.7 meters in length with a max atmospheric speed of 1,250 kilometers an hour, and it came with no shields or hyperdrive capabilities. Most TIE interceptors were used for system defense or housed on Imperial Star Destroyers and deployed wherever needed. They were equipped with 4 LS 9.3 laser cannons that were mounted on the tips of the wings, and the chin hardpoints were usually left empty so that they could save on weight and energy output. The engines equipped were enlarged SFS P6 5.6 twin-ion engines, and in order to achieve enhanced maneuvering capabilities, they included an ion stream projector. An SFS TS9A targeting computer utilized binocular scanner modules that gave the pilot extreme accuracy through a stereoscopic field. Just like most Imperial starships, it lacked a life support system, meaning all pilots were forced to wear fully sealed flight suits that came with a portable oxygen supply. The design of the ship was so narrow that it was nicknamed Squint by Rebel pilots who typically had to do this so that they could see the ship when it was right in front of them. These ships made up only 20% of the fleet by the end of the Galactic Empire, but it was meant to replace the TIE Fighter as the primary fighter over time. All the time between the Mandalorian Wars to the New Sith Wars, the Galactic Republic used the Oric-class tactical strike fighter. It was known for its high speed, extreme maneuverability, and variable geometry wings. It was roughly 9.2 meters in length with a top atmospheric speed of 1,400 kilometers an hour. It was equipped with a Class 2.0 primary hyperdrive and came with a deflector shield generator that was rated at 40 SPD. It was capable of holding one single pilot, but it could hold enough supplies for 1 week in space. It was equipped with 2 heavy laser cannons that were mounted on the wings, and it also had 2 proton torpedo launchers that carried a total of 6. While it was an extremely versatile ship, it was primarily designed to be an easy-to-fix and refuel since the Republic sold damaged units to mercenaries. It was first produced around 3976 BBY to replace the Starsaber XC-01, but it ended up serving as the ancestor for ships like the RZ-1 A-Wing. This ship saw battles through the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, which included the attack on the Starforge, and the Great Galactic War, giving this ship a history of over 3,000 years in active service. The Delta-7 Aethersprite-class interceptor was one of the original Jedi starfighters that were used prior to the Clone Wars and the Eta-2 Actis-class interceptor. It was designed by Koan Systems Engineering, and it was made to rely on the Jedi's reflexes more than anything. It was around 8 meters long with a max atmospheric speed of 1,260 kilometers an hour, and it came with no built-in hyperdrive. Unlike other Jedi starfighters, it was equipped with a Surplex J4 deflector shield generator. It was fitted with 2 Tameco SDS-85 dual laser cannons, but some Jedi custom fitted theirs with quad-pulse laser cannons that were hidden. While Jedi starfighters were typically known to utilize astromech droids, the earlier models of this ship were too thin to hold a full-size droid and used truncated hardwired units instead. The life support built into the ship was enough to supply 5 hours of air and fuel. These ships were commissioned in 22 BBY, and most of them were painted in the diplomatic burgundy shade. One of the main uses of this ship was by Obi-Wan Kenobi when he flew one to the planet Kamino to find out more about the poison dart Jango Fett used. He showcased the ship's maneuverability when he pursued Jango through the asteroid field, and ended up getting pursued in the end. The M3A Scyk interceptor was produced by Mandel Motors, and it was primarily used by the Hutt cartel and other mercenaries during the Civil War period. It was just over 10 meters long with a max atmospheric speed of 1,200 kilometers an hour, and it was equipped with a Class 2.0 hyperdrive. Mercenaries liked to use this ship due to its weapon hardpoint design, as it allowed the pilot to use one of several heavy systems. 2 Mandel Motors heavy laser cannons were the primary weaponry, but it could be fitted with a concussion missile launcher, proton torpedo launcher, or an ion cannon depending on the pilot's needs. There was even a heavy Scyk variant of this ship that sacrificed some of its maneuverability for more armor and a secondary weapon mount. The ships were named after the lizard-like creature on Tatooine known as the Scyk, and the Hutt cartel primarily used this ship as a way to protect their spice shipments. It was also used by other groups and independent pilots thanks to the low cost of repairing it. While it was extremely agile and small, it was equipped with a weak shield and built with a light hull that made it very hard to sustain any prolonged fire.